Imagine this. You are 18 again, standing at the edge of adulthood. The world leans in, whispering the same mantra it has for generations. Follow your passion, and you will never work a day in your life. You believe it. Why wouldn't you? It's the gospel of motivational speakers, career counselors, and self-help gurus. It's the promise that if you just find that one thing that sets your soul on fire, everything else, money, fulfillment, meaning, will follow. But here's the unsettling truth. Most people who follow this advice end up lost, disillusioned, or worse, broken by the weight of their own expectations. The paradox of passion. The modern world worships passion like a deity. We are told that if we aren't burning for something, we're doing life wrong. But beneath this seductive idea lies a dangerous assumption that passion is something you find rather than something you cultivate. Think about the people who seem most fulfilled in their work. The master craftsman who spent decades refining his skill. The scientist who endured years of failure before a breakthrough. The artist who labored in obscurity before creating anything remarkable. Did they start with passion, or did passion emerge because they committed, endured, and mastered something difficult? The emotional trap now, ask yourself, what if passion isn't the starting point, but the result of deep engagement? What if the constant search for passion is actually a form of avoidance, a way to escape the hard work of becoming someone worth being? And what if the real tragedy isn't failing to find your passion, but realizing too late that you were chasing a myth all along? This is the great lie of follow your passion. It suggests that fulfillment is out there, waiting to be discovered, like a hidden treasure map buried in your soul. But what if the map leads nowhere? What if the treasure was inside you all along, but you were too busy searching to notice the weight of the question? This isn't just about careers. It's about identity. It's about the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of our choices. And most dangerously, it's about the quiet despair of those who followed the advice, only to find that passion, like happiness, vanishes the moment you try to grasp it. So before we go further, sit with this discomfort. What if everything you've been told about passion is wrong? And more importantly, what if there's a different way? Passion is not a buried treasure. It is not a static, preordained force waiting to be uncovered, yet we treat it as though it were, as if some people are simply born to be musicians, entrepreneurs, or scientists, while others wander in confusion, doomed to mediocrity until they find their calling. This belief is seductive because it absolves us of responsibility. If we haven't found our passion yet, it's not our fault. We just haven't looked hard enough. But this is where the deception begins. The existential dilemma, passion as a cultural myth. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But our modern interpretation has twisted this wisdom. We've replaced why with what, as if the answer to life's meaning lies in an external pursuit rather than an internal stance. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, observed that those who survived the camps were not necessarily the strongest or most talented, but those who held onto a sense of purpose. Crucially, that purpose was not a career or a passion, it was a reason to endure. Yet today, we've commercialized purpose. We've turned it into a product, something to be found, like the right job or hobby. And in doing so, we've created a generation of anxious seekers, forever scanning the horizon for a sign that they've finally discovered their true path. The psychological trap, the passion mindset. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck's research on fixed versus growth mindsets reveals a parallel here. The follow your passion mantra encourages a fixed view of identity. I am what I love, and if I don't love it, it's not me. But this is a trap. If passion is something you are rather than something you build, then the moment you struggle, the moment your work becomes difficult or tedious, you'll question whether you were ever passionate at all. Arthur Schopenhauer. saw this clearly. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. In other words, you can choose your actions, but you cannot force yourself to feel passionate about them. Passion follows mastery, not the other way around. The manufactured desire, how society exploits the passion. Aldous Huxley warned in Brave New World Revisited that modern society controls people not through force, but through pleasure, through the illusion of choice. Follow your passion is the perfect slogan for a consumerist culture because it keeps us searching, consuming, and never satisfied. The career coach sells you a test to discover your passion. The influencer peddles the dream of quitting your 9-to-5 to do what you love. The education system pushes students to find their calling before they've even experienced real work. But what if passion isn't found? What if it's forged? The fear. Beneath the search, Jean-Paul Sartre argued that humans are condemned to be free, that the burden of choice is terrifying, and so we invent narratives to escape it. Follow your passion is one such narrative. It gives us the illusion of destiny, a pre-written script for our lives. But deep down, we know the truth. So passion is not a guiding star. It's a flickering flame, easily extinguished by hardship, boredom, or reality. And so we keep searching, afraid to admit that the thing we're chasing might not exist. The fork in the road. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Passion is not the cause of success. It's the reward for perseverance. The things you love today may not be the things you love tomorrow, and the relentless pursuit of passion can blind you to the meaning already present in your life. So the question is no longer, what is my passion? But rather, what am I willing to suffer for? Because that, not some mythical calling, is where true commitment begins. Walk into any coffee shop in a major city and you'll hear them. The lost souls staring into their laptops, caught between half-finished passion projects and the gnawing fear that they've wasted years chasing a fantasy. This is the hidden fallout of the follow your passion dogma, a generation paralyzed by the pressure to love what they do, ashamed to admit when they don't. The consequences run deeper than career dissatisfaction. They shape identity, relationships, and even mental health. The perpetual quest and the erosion of satisfaction. Psychologist Barry Schwartz calls it the paradox of choice. The more options we have, the less satisfied we become with any one path. When passion is framed as a discovery rather than a development, we're trapped in an endless loop of questioning. Is this really my passion? What if there's something better? Am I settling? This mindset breeds chronic self-doubt. Every obstacle becomes proof that you're on the wrong path. Every mundane task feels like betrayal, because if this were really your passion, it wouldn't feel like work, right? But here's the truth. Even Michelangelo complained about painting the Sistine Chapel. The devaluation of ordinary work society divides labor into two categories. Passionate work, glamorous, meaningful, noble. Everything else, soul-crushing, beneath you. This binary is destructive. It tells the nurse, the plumber, the accountant that unless they're on fire for their job, they're failing at life. But consider the farmer who takes pride in feeding thousands. Does his value diminish because he doesn't burn with passion for soil chemistry? The parent working a stable job to provide, is their sacrifice less noble because it wasn't their dream? By glorifying only passion-driven work, we've stripped dignity from those who find meaning in duty, service, or simple competence. The neurological mirage of passion neuroimaging studies reveals something startling. The brain's reward system responds not to what we love, but to what we master. Dopamine spikes when we overcome challenges, not when we indulge in pre-existing interests. The so-called flow state, that euphoric immersion in work, occurs during skilled engagement, not during passive enjoyment. This means passion is a byproduct of effort, not a prerequisite for it. Yet we've been sold the opposite, that we must first feel passionate to begin. the identity collapse. When passion fades, what happens when the thing you built your life around stops exciting you? The chef who no longer loves cooking, the entrepreneur who realizes she hates the grind, the artist who feels nothing when holding a brush. If passion is your identity, its disappearance is an existential crisis. This is why so many people cling to dying careers, toxic relationships, or outdated dreams. Because admitting the passion is gone feels like admitting you are gone. The exploitation of the passion. Economy capitalism has weaponized the passion myth. Do what you love becomes work unpaid overtime for the love of it. Gig economy jobs sell autonomy but deliver instability, all under the guise of following your passion. Burnout is rebranded as dedication, exploitation as privilege. The most sinister part, the system convinces you that if you're suffering, it's because you haven't found the right passion yet. So you keep searching, keep hustling, while the real predators profit. The turning point. The consequences are clear. Treating passion as the compass for life leads to perpetual dissatisfaction, devalues ordinary meaning, and leaves us vulnerable to exploitation. But if passion isn't the answer, what is? There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the old maps must burn. You stand at the edge of disillusionment, watching the embers of follow your passion curl into smoke, and realize with terrifying clarity, you've been chasing a ghost. This isn't failure. This is initiation. The way forward demands something far more radical than passion. It requires what Nietzsche called amor fati, the love of fate. Not chasing what excites you, but finding the sacred in what chooses you. The mastery mindset. Passion through proficiency study. Any true master, from jazz musicians to martial artists, and you'll uncover the hidden truth. They fell in love with their craft through the act of mastering it, not before. The first year of violin practice is agony. The initial months of coding are frustration incarnate. Early business ventures often resemble tragicomedies. Yet somewhere around the 10,000-hour mark, something alchemical occurs. What began as discipline transforms into devotion. The Buddhist concept of karma yoga, the path of action, teaches this. Through complete immersion in the work itself, the worker disappears, and with it, the need for passionate feelings. The anti-passion career framework reverse the equation. Entirely identify what you can tolerate. Long-term, not what thrills you, but what won't destroy your soul over decades. Most dream jobs become ordinary work given enough time. Develop marketable skills. Relentlessly competence breeds confidence, which sometimes breeds passion. Financial stability creates the freedom to explore. Find meaning in impact, not emotion. Does your work help real people? Can you take pride in quality? These questions matter more than whether you're passionate. This approach transforms the question from, how do I feel about my work, to what value am I creating? A far more stable foundation. The Stoic's secret, duty as devotion. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about finding his passion. His meditations reveal a different wisdom. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love, then get to work. The ancient Stoics understood what we've forgotten. Fulfillment comes from contribution, not consumption of experience. When you shift from what can the world give me to what can I give the world, the passion paradox dissolves. The ikigai, correction. The popular Japanese concept of ikigai, the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, is often misinterpreted as another passion formula. Its true power lies in the tension between these elements. The fisherman doesn't wake up ecstatic to cast nets. The calligrapher's hand aches after hours of practice. The surgeon operates out of duty as much as desire. Their ikigai emerges from showing up consistently, not from waiting for inspiration. The anti-advice, stop looking inward. start engaging. Outward, our obsession with introspection has become pathological. We psychoanalyze our lack of passion while life passes by. The existentialists had it right. You discover yourself through action, not analysis. Can't find your passion? Pick a problem and solve it. Feeling aimless? Help someone who needs you, unsure of your path? Master something useful. As Jung warned, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. But we've mistaken awakening for paralysis. True awakening comes through engagement with the world, the forge of meaning. This is the rebellion's core truth. Passion isn't found in the soul's hidden corners. It's forged in the daily furnace of meaningful effort. The blacksmith doesn't love hammering hot metal at first. He learns to love it through the act of creating something enduring. Your calling isn't waiting to be discovered. It's waiting to be built, through showing up when you don't feel like it, through choosing contribution over consumption, through the quiet dignity of small excellences repeated daily. Here lies the final, most dangerous myth of all, that passion is the fire that fuels greatness. We imagine the great artists, scientists, and innovators as beings consumed by an inner flame, their brilliance the inevitable product of some divine spark. But history tells a different story, one of discipline, stubbornness, and often reluctant devotion. Vincent van Gogh painted even when he despised his work, writing, "If I hear the word passion, I feel like breaking my brushes." Charles Darwin spent decades methodically collecting beetles and breeding pigeons, driven not by ecstasy, but by obsessive curiosity. Martha Graham, the mother of modern dance, admitted, "No artist is pleased. There is only a queer divine dissatisfaction." The ultimate truth is this: passion is not the cause of mastery. It is its occasional byproduct, fleeting and unreliable. The real engine of greatness is something far less glamorous, yet infinitely more powerful. The three pillars of true calling. When we examine those who have built meaningful, enduring lives, not necessarily famous, but deeply fulfilled, we find three recurring forces at work: commitment beyond feeling, the decision to persist when excitement fades, the understanding that love for any craft is cyclical. Some days it will feel like worship, others like manual labor, service to something larger. The shift from "do I love this?" to "does this matter?" The realization that meaning comes not from self-expression, but from contribution, the alchemy of skill, the mysterious transformation that occurs when competence crosses a threshold, when you become good enough at something that it begins to shape your identity. These forces have nothing to do with finding passion and everything to do with building character. The existential key: you don't find yourself, you create yourself. Jean-Paul Sartre's radical insight cuts deeper now than ever. Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. This is the final liberation from the passion trap. You are not a treasure hunter searching for some buried true self. You are a sculptor, and your life is the clay. Every day you choose, through action or inaction, who you become. The myth of passion tells you to wait for inspiration. The truth demands that you begin without it. The most dangerous question. Now, we arrive at the question that changes everything. What would you do if you knew passion would never come? Would you still write? Would you still care for patients? Would you still build, teach, create? If the answer is yes, you've stumbled upon something far more valuable than passion: purpose. The final realization: passion comes and goes like weather. Purpose is the bedrock beneath it. The great tragedy of our time is not that people fail to find their passion. It's that they abandon meaningful paths because they don't feel passionate every day. They mistake the temporary absence of excitement for the permanent absence of purpose. But here's the secret: the myths don't tell you. The most fulfilling lives are not those lived in perpetual passion, but those built on quiet devotion to craft, to people, to principles that outlast mood. A new compass. So let us bury the old mantra. In its place, plant these words. Show up when you don't want to. Care when it's not exciting. Build something that outlasts your enthusiasm. This is how real lives are made. Not by following passion, but by cultivating fidelity to what matters. The fire you've been seeking was never in the distance. It was in your hands all along, waiting for you to strike the flint of daily effort against the steel of your potential. Now, begin.